Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Adam Caplan, 1 week from today, the Eagles report. They'll be on the practice field on Wednesday. Well, how will they do? What does Vegas say? We'll look at the individuals. Jalen Hurts has been in the news a lot over the last 24 hours, Adam Caplan. We'll see what Vegas thinks about his upcoming season today as we'll look at some prop bets for some of the Eagles' offensive players. But Jalen Hurts, always a polarizing discussion, is he not?
Yeah, look, the ESPN, the rankings, you and Jeff talked about it yesterday. Look, this is something that Hurts has had to deal with. We could go back. He's always had the chip on his shoulder. What happened to him in Alabama forced him to transfer to Oklahoma. He gets drafted to be Eagles backup. Once the situation with the Eagles goes south, he becomes a starter. The Eagles weren't happy with Hurts' performance at 21, so they pursue heavily Deshaun Watson. So Jalen had to deal with that. To his credit, he just kept fighting through it. And you saw what he did in 2022. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? If you just keep notes of the grindstone, keep working, and you could have a great season. So it is interesting, though, Mike, when we turn the page, and Jeff Mocher and I did our show today, we did team props and player props, the fantasy props, which we'll talk about a couple of them today. It's just funny how the odds makers, look, they saw last year Hurts threw for under 3,000 yards. That can't happen 2 years in a row. That's our thinking. The prop is 3,200.5 yards. The over-under is minus 110. Look, I get it. The offense will go through Barkley again. That's not going to change as long as he's healthy. But how could Hurts? I mean, you can't be averaging like 180 yards a game. That's just hard to see.
Yeah, so let's look at the props for Jalen Hurts this year out there. Everybody's talking about Hurts. Where does he fit in the pantheon of the great quarterbacks in this league? I guess one of the problems is Hurts' numbers generally don't stack up against the other guys. So the over-under, 3,200.5 yards is the passing, 600.5 rushing, and 19.5 passing touchdowns. That's not a ton of passing touchdowns. A lot of rushing yards, though. So that's it for Hurts. 600 rushing, 3,200 passing, 19 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, so Hurts averaged 193 yards, 0.5 per game. So last season, throwing the football. And I know, Mike, you've asked me this, and my feeling has been all offseason they'll throw a little bit more than they did last season. Yes, they won the Super Bowl by running the ball like crazy, the only NFL team to run the ball more than they throw it in the first half of games, which is typically the opposite. You always come out throwing more. You go back to going back 50 years, the more you throw it in the first half than run it, you win. But the Eagles were the anomaly. It worked. Why would they go? Why would they go back to what they used to do? Because it's working. It's why they redid Barkley's contract after 1 year, which is unheard of. So, but doesn't mean it. Look, now here's the thing: to throw the ball more. Look, they because of Barkley and somewhat of Hurts, they had so many leads, so they didn't have to throw the football. So the feeling here is, Mike, that they'll throw a little bit. They've got a minimum of 5 defensive starters changing, so maybe the defense won't be quite as good. Maybe they'll throw the ball more. That's the thinking.
All right, so obviously Jalen Hurts doesn't win everybody over, but he wins a lot of games. What's the over-under on the wins there, right? That's all that really matters for him, not the rushing yards, not the passing yards, not the passing touchdowns. But what is Saquon Barkley going to do for an encore? Over 2,000 yards last year. Where are they setting the number for this year?
Yeah, and he sat out the final game, which, it's funny, and as you know, Mike, that we talked about on your show, that was a big controversy. The Eagles were obviously clearly right by not risking him, and they didn't do that. And he, as you said, he ran for over 2,000 yards despite missing the last game. Now you look at the rushing yards prop; it's 1,500.5. The over is plus 100, which means the money is on it going under, which is minus 120. That's interesting, Mike. Look, he's not getting 2,000 yards. It's not going to happen. No one's ever done it before, back-to-back seasons, which makes sense. But the odds makers, Mike, last year, they were barely over 1,000 on their prop, and I thought it was ridiculous. I mean, I get it that he had a big injury history, but I don't see. This is where I don't think the odds makers, when they do these fantasy props, they either don't look at coaching, or they don't look at function of the offense, or they don't look at, in this case, the offensive line, the best in football. So why would you think Barkley wouldn't have a great game? Now, if you're putting together a line on this, you think he's only going to play 12 games, then okay, that's fine. If you think he's going to miss 5 games, yeah, you could put it around 1,500 or 1,600 yards, maybe a little bit less than that. So clearly, to me, Mike, they think there'll be some sort of regression either with injury or he won't be as successful.
All right, Adam, let's look at his touchdown number because that's 11.5, which is interesting because we know Hurts, they don't have a rushing touchdown number here, but he vultures a lot of those up. So Barkley, he doesn't get into the end zone nearly as much as he could.
Mike, listen to these touchdown numbers for Hurts, okay? Going back his first full season as a starter. 2021, 10 rushing. 22, 13 rushing. 2 years ago, 15. Last season, 14. Well, yeah, he's going to bogart the touchdown. So it's tough. I mean, now the over-under total for Barkley here is 11.5 touchdowns. The over is minus 125, so clearly the money's on the over. The under is plus 105. So if you don't think it'll be quite as good, if you think you'll have 11 or fewer, you would get plus money, which is look, that's kind of a smart bet. Now, he had a career high 13 rushing touchdowns, career high 2,005 yards, a career high in carries. I see around 10, 9 or 10, maybe 11. If I had to take his side, Mike, it would be that under plus 105. But you made the point at the top here, which is the best one. You got the Hurts and the push-tush. I wonder what will happen if it gets voted out for 26. I wonder what the rushing. What do you think? I would give Hurts like 5 rushing touchdowns, maybe even less, if it gets outlawed.
Yeah, exactly. So expect about double digits from Hurts. We'll see where Barkley. That number, by the way, 11.5 for Saquon on the over-under for rushing touchdowns this year. If you like the under, you can get a little value there, plus 105 if you think Barkley can't get in the end zone as much this year. All right, A.J. Brown. He doesn't have the big, gaudy number 1 wide receiver numbers, but where did they set his receiving number?
Yeah, look, it's not his fault. 2 things. A, they became a running team, and B, he missed 4 games. Well, of course his numbers are going to go down. He's still, by the way, he still went over 1,000 yards. People say he had a down year. Well, his numbers were down for 2 reasons. Again, he missed 4 games. He had the injury earlier in the season. And we've seen what it looks like when he doesn't play. It doesn't look very good.
No.
So, and that's, we'll talk about training camp questions next week. I mean, that's part of what they have to answer. They've got to be better when these guys can't play. But when you look at the numbers, he just under 1,100 yards last year, 1079 in 13 games. Big average per catch, lots of big plays, over 16 yards. Hurts loves to throw the deep ball. So the prop here is 1150.5. It's the under and the over is minus 110. Yeah, I could certainly see why people might like the over if you're going to take one. Now, again, the Eagles are going to be a rushing team, but when they throw it, they're going to be successful because we saw in the Super Bowl, Mike, if you want to stop Barkley and the Chiefs put on a specific front to stop Barkley, well, the Eagles are going to throw the ball downfield. That's what Hurts loves to do, and that helps A.J. Brown big time.
All right, Adam Caplan, football at 4 here. Let's go to touchdowns for A.J. Brown. Not a eye-popping number here, but if you like the over, there's a little value on A.J. Brown touchdowns.
Mike, the last 2 seasons, he was down in touchdowns. Only 7 this season, past season. 23, only 7. Now, he played, by the way, every game in 22 and 23. He only had 7 touchdowns. Now, you got the Goddard factor, clearly. You got the Hurts factor. The tush-push is a big deal. I mean, the push play takes away an opportunity to get the ball there. That's part of it. So, yeah, he's probably not going to be a high touchdown guy anymore. I think it's a fair number. So to win it, if you're going to take the over, you got to get at least 8, and the under is where the money is at minus 120.
All right, the other guy's interesting. There's a whole conversation we can get kind of a spin-off on this, which is Devonta Smith. His receiving yards, you look at it, you say over under 850.5. Come on, Devonta's better than that. But that's kind of been the ballpark for him.
Well, see, again, when guys miss time, you have to bake in, well, what happened last year? He only had 833. Well, he missed 4 games, okay? He missed 4 games. Actually, he's been very durable, Mike, throughout his career. But last season, he sat out the last one, then he had the injury. So, yeah, he only had 833. But that, again, is missing a lot of time. If you just take the last 3 years when Hurts progressed as a quarterback, particularly in 22, 1196. Then 2 years ago, 1066. Well, He was hurt last year, Devonta, and he missed 3 games due to injury. One, he was rested. So he only had 833. This is where I think they're totally missing this, Mike. His receiving yards are only 850.5. Well, see, they're not taking into that. It's almost like they didn't even look up that he missed time. You'll hear me talk about this. I was pretty passionate about it as I am with you right now. The over 850.5, so you need at least 851 to win that bet, is over minus 110. The under is also minus 110. I'd be stunned if he doesn't go over. I'll tell you that much. That would surprise me.
All right, and what about getting in the end zone? Because while his number of yards are down from A.J. Brown's, they're right about in the same ballpark, and there's value here at plus 100 for the touchdown number if you want to go over.
Yeah, Mike, you know what's interesting they call him Skinny Batman. For a guy who's as thin as he is, you know how physical he is? It's really interesting. And he actually, over the last 2 seasons, technically has more touchdowns than A.J. Brown, believe it or not. He has 15. The touchdowns could be fluky. The thing about Devonta Smith is he could run deeper routes. He could run shorter routes. He could run any kind of route that you want, and he's really tough despite being as thin as he is. Now, it's interesting because they're taking an average here, sort of, but I don't agree with it. The total is 6.5. The over is plus 100. Well, Smith did have 15 in the last 2 seasons. In fact, he has 22 receiving touchdowns over the last 3 seasons, which would be over that average total. So I'm a little surprised. You think the over would be minus 110. It's not. It's plus 100. The under is minus 120.
All right, yesterday we talked, I don't know if you saw this article that we were talking about yesterday. There was somebody who basically was going through the Commanders, how many Commanders would start on the Eagles.
No, I didn't see that.
One guy he had was Debo over Smith. Would you rather Debo or Smith?
Here's why. Debo's got a major injury history. They're completely different. Debo is a guy, you could line him up outside, but he's much better playing inside. He's got better versatility than Smitty, but Smitty, to me, he's been more durable. You worry about Deebo Samuel as he gets up there. He's in a new offense. He is 29. Debo's not the same player he once was. Look, he's a really, really talented guy. Big injury history. I'd rather have Smitty. I'm not biased. We don't, inside the Birds, we don't root for anything or anyone or any team. But I'm just being honest about it. Now, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, different story. Devonta Smith is really, really consistent. Now, Debo is going to be fun under Cliff Kingsbury. Who's the play caller for Washington.
Do you like Tunsil or Mailata?
Mailata. It's Tunsil is one offensive line coach told me who looked at his tape from last year because this guy reviews every offensive lineman that he doesn't coach. I remember him telling me that Tunsil, if he has 4 bad plays a year, he probably had about 9 or 10. Still pretty good, but Mailata was elite last season. He's great, Mike. It's one of the all-time Eagle stories.
All right, the last one that we kind of scratched our heads on a little bit. I don't know if scratched our heads. We battled a little bit, Josh and I. Luvu versus Bond.
Love Luvu, but they're really different. They both can rush the passer. Luvu has been an incredible story development, a former undrafted free agent. Bond is better in cover. Bond's a better football player. I say that. It's only 1 year. Bond had the best season of any linebacker last season, pure linebacker. We're talking about 34 inside backer or 43 outside backer.
Yeah.
Luvu is a really interesting player. He's a self-made player. He's been on a number of teams, by the way. Let's not forget. But I'm willing to say that Bond will come close to repeating his success. So I'd rather have Zach Bond. Now, he's a little bit older, 29. Luvu is maybe a year younger. They're a little bit different in their deployment, but they're both really good.
Of course, he had Daniels over Hurts as well, which started off the whole conversation.
Well, here's the problem with that, right? But real quick, so with the Daniels thing, my rule's been whenever I've been asked to participate in polls is I'll give you my opinion on the first year, the guy after his first year, but I'm not ranking him. I want to see 2 years back to back. That's just my rule.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Some people don't like it, but I'm not going to. It's when like Mike, I vote for 2 polls for postseason. One of them is Pro Football Writers Association. It's by far the most detailed. Yeah, there's certain rules that you got to play a certain amount of games, so they don't have one. But if a guy, it's like with the Royals guy, with some guy, was it the guy on the Royals who made the All-Star team? It was ridiculous. Baseball. Some guy made in the baseball. MLB players are criticizing MLB for putting the guy on there. He only started a number of games. Yeah, you got to play a certain number of games to win an award.
Yeah, so, and Rook, I said with Bond and Louvu's resume is better than Bond's. Bond had the better season.
Yeah, I'm willing to say, I'm not voting, I didn't have to turn any vote who's better, but if you're asking me who I'd rather have more, it would be Bond, because the thing that surprised me, the guy I talked to, we talked about this in Inside the Birds on Monday with Jeff, talked to someone recently who graded the Eagles, their offense and defense, because this is what teams do, and he said that he cannot believe how elite Bond's skills in pass coverage is. He doesn't understand how the guy never played this position before.
Right. I
don't know, Mike. Some of what has happened with the Eagles is kind of lucky, because if Vic Fangio doesn't speak up, he's going to be an edge rusher, and that's it. And you'll probably never hear from Zach Bonnigan. He probably would have been gone after last year. Well, and then Jeff Stoutland putting Mekhi Becton at guard. Coaching matters, folks. If you've never thought so, I just gave you two great examples.
Adam Caplan, Football at 4, a week from today. The Eagles report Wednesday. They practice. Football is back. The training camp portion begins on Tuesday. And, of course, we'll have it all for you right here. And don't forget to download the Inside the Birds podcast on all podcasting platforms. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
There's Adam Caplan. He's back on Friday when, we will be getting close to the start of the Eagles training camp. This is the final week with no football.